That's something I think we all need to be aware of right now. We're all going to be a little bit, like all our ADHD symptoms might be a little bit worse right now. So emotional dysregulation being part of that. We're going to be quicker to frustration right now. And that's something to watch. You know, if you do have a meditation practice, now's a really good time to be keeping that up. If not, because you're terrified of meditation, because like as soon as you sit down and try and make the thoughts go quiet, they storm your brain because you haven't given yourself a chance to process. Know that it gets better. Like, you know, try Headspace to have a voice walking you through it or do something. But I beg you, please, for the love of all that is brainy, try some sort of meditation practice, even if it's knitting, even if it's a walking meditation, just something right now.
ADHD Rewired, episode
314.
This is the podcast for those of us with really good intentions and a slightly wandering attention. I'm Eric Tivers. I'm a licensed clinical social worker by training and a coach by design. I'm your host, and I have ADHD. ADHD Rewired is more than just a podcast. We are a community. We are wired for connection, and you are not alone. Go to ADHDrewired.com to learn how you can join us in our free secret Facebook group. Get additional resources for every episode, including links to any resources we mention on today's show. You can support us on Patreon, sign up for our email newsletter. You can request podcast postcards to distribute to your clients and support groups, and you can learn all about our intensive online video-based coaching and accountability groups. You can do all of this at our website, ADHDrewired.com. We know that starting is the hardest part, so let's get started.
And welcome back to another episode of ADHD Rewired with Eric Tivers. Wait, I'm not Eric Tivers. Why am I here?
Jessica.
Hi. Everything's a little wonky now, isn't it?
It is. A little wonky would be an understatement. So this is not going to be a regular kind of episode. We had a regular episode in the queue, and then the governor of the state of Illinois said that we have to all shelter in place. And yeah, it's been crazy. That's been crazy. So I didn't really want to put out just a regular episode. I wanted to be able to, connect with everyone about how everyone's doing, because I know that a lot of us are really struggling, including Jessica and myself. We've been struggling a bit, but we're also supporting each other. And so we wanted to share with everyone some ideas on how we could stay sane in this sort of crazy time that we're in right now, as well as bring what I think is one of the most helpful coping strategies, humor, to this. So hopefully we're going to be able to do that. And if nothing else, you may enjoy knowing that I'm recording this at 8:21 p.m., which means my meds have long worn off.
Yeah, my meds probably have too. But yeah, humor, it's a really good coping strategy, and everybody's kind of a little on edge right now, like not sure what it's okay to share or laugh about. And for me personally, like the way my family coped, I grew up with, there were a lot of challenges. And so we learned very quickly that the only way we were going to get through things that were really dark, when times are really dark and really uncertain and really scary, the best way we found was to face them head on with humor. And so when my dad was dying of cancer, we found out that if he had died of other causes, like, not natural causes, if he had died in an accident or something like that, my mom's house would have been paid off. And that would have been really nice at the time. So over his deathbed, we were making jokes about how, like, maybe we could throw him off the roof. And like, that was how we coped, right? And it's incredibly offensive, except we needed that at the time. And I think we're all going through something really scary right now. And I think we all need to give ourselves permission to use whatever kind of humor we need to use, as long as it's not at the expense of other people, as long as we're not punching down. I think it's really important to be able to laugh. Yeah.
So, What I wanted to, before I forget, I just wanted to take 30 seconds just to cover some quick business, because I'm not going to be putting ads in this episode. But just because there's some timely stuff. So, today is Tuesday. So the Tuesday that it comes out is
the 24th.
Tuesday, the 24th. Thank you. And we are doing a patron-only coaching call for patrons that support at the $25 a month level. Our spring coaching groups are full, but we are forming a wait list. So if you are interested in that, go to coachingrewired.com. End of ads. Okay. Now, where were we, Jessica?
We were just talking about how things are really weird right now is probably a good way to put it. And that can be, I think, especially hard for those of us with ADHD because, we rely on whatever routines we have scrabbled into place to kind of keep us functional. And right now it's just like, yeah, that routines thing. Good luck with that. Like my gym clothes. That was one of the things that I do to stay in an okay place mentally is I make sure I go to the gym 3 times a week. I thought
you were going to say I put on gym clothes.
I mean, sometimes I just put on gym clothes. I'm not going to lie. But like, every other day I intend to go to the gym. Like I put on the gym clothes and most of the time I make it there. And right now I can't. Yeah. And it's frustrating for me, right? We're all making all of these sacrifices right now. I just moved to Seattle and I was like, I'm going to make sure that I do the right thing. And as soon as I get there, I'm going to put all my routines in place. And, I'm going to make sure I find my gym. I'm going to make sure that I make some friends and figure out my local coffee shop and all this stuff. And I had the best of intentions. And here we are, right? I know, which is honestly, you know how relieving that is? Like, I am off track and it is not my fault. Like, I am doing good. Right. I am doing good for the world by not going to the local coffee shop and the gym. And like, that's helpful. I will say that, like, knowing that I'm doing something good by staying at home because I can. A lot of people don't have the luxury of staying from home right now, but I do. I have a job where I work from home. And so the least I can do, and I have a healthy immune system, the least I can do for those who can't stay at home right now, who don't have a healthy immune system, is to do my part, is to stay home. And there is something that feels good about that, as frustrated as I am about like not getting to do the things I wanted to do. At least I know I'm helping people by, not going to see them in person.
Have you found an alternative to exercise?
Like for one day, yeah, like that's not gonna last. So I was told by a personal trainer once, like if you can't exercise, just do 200 burpees, like 200 squat thrusts, like 4 sets of 50, and that's a really decent workout. You're not going to lose any progress. I got through like 25 and I'm like, yeah, I'll do 100. So I did 100 is what happened. But like today I was supposed to work out again and I didn't know what to do. So I didn't do it. And it's like that easy for us to fall off track. So do you have any suggestions? What are you doing for exercise?
Okay. So, exercise is outside of medication. I would say exercise is one of the most like important active things that I do to manage my ADHD. It's, I always say that I exercise for my brain. My body benefits from it though. And for me, exercise, over the last 2 years, I have become healthily obsessed with the game of pickleball. And it's my therapy. It is it's a good workout. It's social. And so last Sunday, there's a place that I play at, and I was like debating. I was going back and forth. I'm like, should I go? Should I not? I'm like, if I go, there probably actually won't be that many people there because like it was just at that that was like the moment where we're starting to be like, oh, like this seems like a real thing. And so I went. I'm bringing my hand sanitizer. I had this whole plan, and the place was never busier. I've never seen it busier. And so I was like, oh, I'm surrounded by idiots. I'm one of the idiots.
I was going to say, not the smartest choice, but I get it because like I used to be the person that could never regularly get into a workout routine. And then going through my divorce and stuff this last year, I started getting really depressed. And I realized that I needed to, if I was going to be functional, like it wasn't an option for me anymore. Right. And it wasn't about vanity. It was just, I am not in a bad place, or I'm not in a good place. It was just, I'm not in a good place. And if I want to keep myself from like sliding down, it felt like quicksand. It really did. Yes. And it felt like if I don't do the things that I can do to keep from sinking deeper, I might get to the point where I can't pull myself out. Right. And so I did it as a coping mechanism.
So So I went and played that Sunday. And one of the things that really like sort of helped me make the decision of like, okay, it's time to take this seriously was when I was at this place, and it's like super close to my house, but it's indoors. And they had this big thing of hand sanitizer behind their desk. And I was like, hey, can you put that out so we can all like easily use it? And the person behind the desk was like, you know, we had it out before, but then people were filling up their own like personal Purell bottles. And I was like, I'm like, oh, could you make a sign that says use generously while here, but leave it here? You know, cause my thought was like, if you're going to be open right now, put a bottle of Purell on every quart, you know? And so I was annoyed that they were like being like cheap about it. Like, and I know, and they were protecting their supply, but I think a couple signs may have been helpful. So I was like, you know what? People aren't taking the precautions that they need to take if we're going to take those risks. So I was like, you know, this is not worth it. I have too many people depending on me, you know, and like and I think about like, so there were probably like 60 people in this building at the time. Right. And I'm like thinking about how many people they've come in contact with. And it's like, you know, so that I was feeling super guilty after I went there, and I was like, all right, like I have to change my lifestyle right now, as with, you know, all of us do.
Yeah, I think we all have to make a little bit of a sacrifice and know that we're doing it for the greater good and get to feel good about that, which, you know, is actually a nice change from like feeling bad about the fact that I didn't go to the gym. It's like, oh, I did a good thing by not going to the gym, which is so weird to say. But can we talk about that like mentality though for a second? Because with the hand sanitizer, because people were filling up their own bottles, they, you know, the place had to get stingy about their supply, and suddenly everybody does it, right? It's this ripple effect, like dominoes. So how do we break out of that?
I'm gonna put a pin in that because I want to share what I've started doing with exercise.
Oh yeah, right. Okay. That's what we were talking about.
I'm like, are we gonna remember it? Our meds
no.
somewhere? Okay.
I already forgot.
Okay, what are we talking about? So Monday, I'm like, all right, I have to get some workout, some exercise. So I put on it was about 30 degrees out. I went for a walk, like I power walked. And it was actually really nice because I got to talk to Brendan Mahan for about 45 minutes on the phone. Which, you know, so talk about this time of social distancing, but I have also been doing more to actually become even more connected and normal. And I think you and I were talking about this, that the idea of social distancing probably isn't even the best term. It's physical distancing, right? We can reach out. So Monday, I went for this walk, but I think Sunday when I played, I didn't even realize it at the time, but I got a really bad foot blister. And then like Monday after my walk it opened and then it hurt. So like the next 2 days, like my foot was really like just sensitive, so I couldn't really do much. So I was like, I was going to go for these walks. Now I'm just like limping, and like, this is just like the world's coming down on me, and woe is me. And there may have been some intermittent crying came out of nowhere. And then, today I decided, so I'm still at my office, but I'm fortunate enough to have an office where like there's nobody else here except for my assistant. And so I, in the waiting room of the office, I moved the couches out of the way. And I started playing pickleball against the wall for like 40 minutes, and I actually worked up a sweat. And it was fantastic. And I even used, it almost became meditative because I was kind of like drilling, because I was counting how many I can do without making a mistake. And I got to 380, I think something. But it was like, okay, like, I can still do pickleball in this adaptive way. And then I was thinking I could also do this in my dining room at home, which I will be doing this weekend. So, cause as soon as within like 3 minutes, Jessica, of doing this, I had this like wave of like, oh my God, I needed this so badly. Cause exercise helps me keep my sanity. It helps me keep my focus. And it helps me helps with all that sort of built up sort of cortisol and other sort of physiological things that are happening in our body that result from anxiety. And because I have been experiencing a lot of anxiety since the start of all this.
Yeah. Me too. The crying. The other day I cried through half of my meditation. Like, that was the first for me, but everything is just so much more overwhelming right now. And I can tell that it's affecting my mental health already. And I've been inside for like a week. But I went to go because I'm in Seattle and the restaurants are closed, the bars are closed, like we can get takeout and that's it, and go get prescriptions and go to the grocery store. But I went to go get lunch today, and I was diagnosed when I was in high school. I was diagnosed with mild OCD in addition to my ADHD. And usually I can keep it fairly under control. It doesn't really affect me too much. But going outside, I was suddenly very, very obsessive and aware of everything I touched. And I knew I was going to go out, get the food, come back, wash my hands as soon as I got in, because that's the recommendation. But then I realized I was touching my phone screen. I was touching my jacket. Like while I was out, I found myself touching my face, and I'm just like, oh no, like I found myself spinning on it. And then when I came in, I went to go wash my hands, but I was like, wait, I need to sterilize my phone too, because I was touching my phone. So do I do the phone first or my hands first? And I almost had a meltdown about it. And I'm just finding myself spinning on it. And so I think what I finally had to tell myself was, you know what? I can't protect myself 100% against this. I can't be certain that the steps I'm taking, are going to protect me. It's possible that I still get it. But I think, the idea that we can 100% protect ourselves from anything is unrealistic, right? And that's where anxiety gets really high, is like, oh, but it has to be perfect. I have to make sure I do everything that I can. I think right now it's important to take the reasonable steps, that do what we reasonably can. And what I reasonably can is come inside, wash my hands, wipe off my phone or whatever, and then go about my day, because I don't want to live a life where I'm constantly having to worry about what part of my jacket I touched while I was outside, right?
I know that. So yesterday I had to go to Costco because we were trying to do the shopping like cart delivery thing, and all the places that do it around here said like no shoppers available. Like earliest delivery time was like next Wednesday, and so we're like, oh man, like we got to go to a store. So I went. I ended up going to Costco, and I was on the verge of a panic attack the entire time that I was there. And, I kept my gloves on, and then as I was getting into my car, I was like, what did I just touch in my car? And then I was trying, like, very much kind of how you described it. And when I came to the house, I was like taking everything off I basically stripped down, and my anxiety was really highly elevated for a good 2 hours after it. And it was kind of frightening, because I'm like thinking, all right, like I don't know the people that I was around, like what they, who were they with? And it's just like, and then I was thinking about like, well, how is this thing like transmitted? They say to keep 6 feet. How do they know it's 6 feet? And like, if someone like coughs or sneezes, is it, does that stay in the air? How long does it stay in the air for? Like, so I was a lot of these like very like ruminatory thoughts.
Yeah, that's exactly it, because we don't know. There's so much that we don't know yet. And so usually what I do when I don't know things is I Google it. But right now, because it's so early, Googling it is not really maybe the best idea. We just get so much conflicting information and so many reports being updated constantly, and then we find out those numbers are wrong. It's just, I've learned to take all of it with a grain of salt. And so I'm still checking, but I'm not obsessively checking anymore. I'm like maybe twice a day. I'm like, okay, what's going on? What are the updates? Are there any new measures I'm supposed to be taking? But other than that, I'm trying to stay away from it, because otherwise, yeah, it's going to be bad for my anxiety.
And I think too, when checking the news, before you even turn it on or whatever source you go to, ask yourself the question, what information do I need in my life? Right?
Oh,
because that's
a good one.
Because before Sunday, the information I needed was, do I need to do anything different? Right? And once I made that decision that I am going to be doing things different, I didn't need the news as much. Right? Yeah.
We need enough information to know how to behave, right? I needed enough information to know what steps I'm supposed to be taking. How long do I actually reasonably need to stock up for? And honestly, like I actually had to find some information on whether or not I could be evicted, because with everything so scary, finances are really an issue for a lot of people right now. I just moved into an apartment, and Seattle is not cheap. And so I was wondering, like, if things happen and people can't afford to keep supporting me on Patreon because they also their incomes are being impacted, can I be evicted? Worst case scenario. And I found out that in Seattle, at least, evictions are being put on hold temporarily. So no, I can't. Like, even if things go really badly, at this point, I'm not going to be evicted. And that gave me a lot of sense of security. I know I'm not going to be evicted. I got enough food to get me through the next week, at least. And then I got some Vienna sausages. Like, that was an old California trick to get through earthquakes. Like, Vienna sausages, like, last a year or whatever. So I got some of those if things get really bad and I can't go out to get groceries or whatever. But I know I have the basic necessities for survival. I have water, I have enough food for a little bit, and I've got emergency food that I could turn to, and I've got a place to stay. And that was enough for me. I think everybody's thresholds are different. Probably nobody's threshold is like 2,400 rolls of toilet paper. Like, at that point, like, share probably, but but knowing that we're prepared, I think, is one way to mitigate that anxiety. And it's just, we don't really know what exactly we're preparing for is part of the problem, right?
Well, I saw something on online that was saying about, people run out of toilet paper. That's going to be one of the best ways to just reinforce social distancing.
Oh, that's so true.
And so I was thinking, all right, so because we're actually having a hard time, actually, like, we're low on both toilet paper right now in our house and paper towels. So I was like, all right, like, well, we have like a stack of like dish towels for the kitchen. We'll get a small bucket and keep it in warm soapy water and use that in replacement of paper towels. And for toilet paper, well, if I can time going to the bathroom or I'm going to taking a shower, then I'll do that. I know, like, Brendan Mahan, like, bought 2 bidets. And did you see
it's not a bad idea.
When he installed it on his birthday, apparently, and then he posted on Facebook, "Happy bidet to me, happy bidet to me."
Oh my God.
So there are, I mean, like, you can even just like using a little bit less toilet paper and be more mindful. I know, like, all right, we all wipe our butt here, every one of us, right? So just as, like, I don't know what you're talking about.
I have no butt. Haven't you seen my videos? I'm just like, from the chest up. That's all of me that exists as far as the world is concerned.
So, like, just be mindful, like, because I know sometimes I'll just be like, cleaning myself up and not really paying attention fully to how much toilet paper I'm using. Maybe that's just me.
Yeah. No, that's true. Honestly, I think a lot of good changes are going to come from this too. I think we're being more aware of how important socialization is to us, now that it's being taken away, and we're maybe going to be a little more appreciative of it, even us introverts, because it turns out we still need some level of human contact once in a while.
Introverts,
to my surprise.
Introverts with oppositional tendencies are the ones that right now really want to go out and socialize.
Right. They're just like, let's throw a party. Yeah, no, but I feel like we're going to appreciate socializing more. I feel like we're going to look out for each other more because we're realizing how connected we really are. Because if I don't do my part, somebody in another state or another country could die. Yeah. Right. And that's a sobering thing. I know we know that we're connected and we feel digitally connected, but this is the first time that I at least have felt I am physically connected to every other person in this world.
Yeah. Yeah. It's kind of crazy to think about that. And, I hope this changes, some mindsets around the me culture. I hope, I remember, after 9/11, I was really hopeful that there was going to be a lot more community. And then we found a scapegoat, and that all changed. I know that Jessica gets uncomfortable when I get into politics and in conversations that go out to the public.
No, I don't get uncomfortable with you when you do it. I just don't do it because it's important to me to be inclusive.
Right. But so after 9/11, I felt like the sort of divisiveness in politics. And man, if we look back at that time, like, have you ever thought that there would be a time where you'd be like, man, I could really go for a good George W. Bush presidency? So, I mean, that's just where we're at. So speaking of things that are so funny, they're not. Did you have something?
Oh no, you just made me think about, where we get our news from, and just that certain things have been said recently that have turned out to be unreliable. And I think right now media literacy is really important. It's something that I care deeply about anyway, but especially right now, especially when people's lives are at stake to this extent, I think it's really important that we're careful about what we share. There was an article on Twitter at takethisorg, TAKETHISORG. I was like, suddenly I don't know how to spell. At takethisorg has an article on media.
.org? Is there a dot there?
At takethisorg on Twitter, or takethis.org.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Is
so
the website.
Okay, the Twitter.
Mm-hmm. They've been putting out some really great articles supporting people with their mental health right now. And one was on media literacy and anxiety. And there's a lot of stuff going around in the media right now that is creating a lot of panic and making people's anxiety worse. And I think it's just really important to remember, media is under a lot of pressure to turn around information really quickly, to get reports out really quickly, to make it as sensationalized as possible. So it really is important to take stuff with a grain of salt. Same thing about new study says or new study suggests. It's it's one study though. If that's not replicated, those results aren't really reliable. So I don't think it's about not believing anything that the news says. But we should know what kind of pressure they're under. They're trying to get things out accurately, but they're also trying to get things out quickly. So they're going to get things wrong, right? I have the luxury with a YouTube video to look at information that's been around for a while and then curate it and then have time to edit it and make sure and fact check and make sure that everything that I'm saying is accurate. But they don't. And it's not because they don't care. It's because they're trying to do the public a service and get this information out quickly, right? But because of that, stuff gets misreported. And then it ends up being a game of telephone where somebody on Twitter talks about something they saw in an article that is based on something that somebody else said. And of course, it's going to not be accurate, right? Of course, we played that game of telephone as kids. It gets a little distorted every time until it has nothing to do with the original message. And I just think right now, especially, it's important to remember that. Clearly, this is an issue. Clearly, it's going to affect a lot of people. Clearly, a lot of people are going to die. And that's really sobering. So personally, I'm taking it really seriously. At the same time, I'm not getting attached to any specific numbers or any specific news reports. I'm just trying to generally understand the bigger picture of what's going on right now. There was a number that really stuck out in my mind that is why I think this social distancing is so important. The number was that there are 2.2 hospital beds for every 1,000 people in this country. And so from what I've understood based on the news that I've listened to and read is that, a lot of us are going to get this virus at some point. The issue is if most of us get it at this point, we're going to be in big trouble. Right. The issue is we need to flatten that curve as they're talking about in the news, because there's for every one person that gets it, they have to spread it to I think it was 2.6 people. Don't quote me on that one, but I know it's more than 1 to 1. Yeah, remember that thing about telephone that I just talked about? Don't get attached to Eric's exact numbers, but yeah, we want to slow it down because the most important thing that I've seen so far is that people are able to get quick treatment if they need it.
Right.
And the more people get it at once, the slower that treatment is going to happen. The fewer people are going to get the the fewer percentage of people that are sick are going to get the treatment they need. So yeah, that's why, again, I can stay inside. I'm going to stay inside. If I do go outside, I'm very careful. And I'm just, trying to not make the situation worse at this point.
Okay. So,
can we have a laugh? I'm so
yes. So yep.
I just hit that point where I'm just let's not talk about depressing things for a little bit.
So this is one of my favorite things that I've seen on Facebook in the last couple of days. So the post is, all right, for everyone attempting to work from home, tell us what your kids are doing, but replace the word kids with coworkers and we'll see how upset HR is.
Can I do this with my dog too?
Yes. Okay. So this first one, I'm just going to leave all names out. My coworkers are half naked, slamming doors and throwing Doritos at each other while laughing hysterically. There's another one saying, just lying on the floor of my office, occasionally looking up with a withering stare and making vocal noises. My coworkers have been watching Parks and Rec and playing on their phones for hours.
My coworker is licking her butt. I guess she ran out of toilet paper.
Oh, God. Let's see. My coworker has just attempted to pee in the same toilet at the same time. Let's just say it did not go well. Got any more?
I don't have any. No, that was what my dog was doing.
That's what your dog was doing at that time. All right. And let's see. One of my coworkers is in a bathing suit on a slip and slide while the other is using company equipment to talk to her friends while she pretends to work.
My coworker is chewing on a dehydrated bull penis. That's what bully sticks are. Did you know that?
Bully sticks?
Bully sticks. Yeah, they're the best things ever for dogs because they can chew on them for hours on end and it keeps them from chewing on your shoes. And they're great, but they're dehydrated bull penises.
Those are only for dogs?
Oh, my God.
Sorry.
We're going to cut that part.
Maybe. Let's see. There are some other good ones. Coworker is asking me to help him with every problem on his worksheet and then farting and asking, what? With an innocent smile.
Oh, what was the other one? Didn't you tell me about one? This is okay. So this is so we don't drive each other up the wall and get on each other's nerves at home. What was it? All
right. So, you have to come up with, so if you live with someone, and you're both now working from home, come up with a fictional, coworker that you can blame shit on. So like if one of you guys leave a mess, you can be like, Sally, she leaves stuff everywhere. You know?
Ah, jeez, Sally, get your act together, Sally. I like it.
Sally, what did you eat?
I like it. This, by the way, we should probably say this is a temporary situation because otherwise, we carry this forward and then just nobody takes responsibility for anything in the relationship and that becomes a problem. But at least right now, like maybe right now is the time to not have fights with our significant others, right? Which, I think is worth saying because ADHDers get bored very easily. We don't tolerate boredom well. And sometimes... and I've done this, what we do when we're bored is pick fights with the people we love.
Because it's stimulating.
Yeah, exactly. Because we need that mental stimulation. And if that's happening with you, don't judge yourself for it. It's perfectly normal. This is an ADHD thing. It's that or like go find cookies, basically, for me. But it is something to be aware of.
And let's just note that right before we hit record, Jessica fully tried to hide the fact that she was stuffing what was it, Oreos, like right into her mouth. I'm like, I look back at the screen. I'm like, what's in your mouth? It
was a stroopwafel.
What was it?
A stroopwafel. Like we say stroopwafels, but apparently I've been saying it wrong because, if you live in the Netherlands, they're actually pronounced, I think, stroopwafels. And one of the brains, actually, Mike, sent me a box full of stroopwafels, and it's amazing. And I told him never to do this again because I'm eating all of them because that is how I tolerate boredom. So I'm eating cookies. But I was hungry before we started this because it's kind of an impromptu thing, last minute thing. And I was like, oh, right, food. I don't want my blood sugar to crash. I'm going to eat a cookie. And so I shoved this in my mouth right as we start recording as if Eric's not going to hear it in the audio.
So I think it's on Sunday night. We're going to go back serious for a moment and then a little bit more funny.
Okay.
So it was on Sunday night. I posted in my Facebook community just a very simple question: how's everyone doing?
How is everyone doing?
And it was very the responses. It's as someone who does social media stuff, you get excited when you get people who respond to stuff like quickly, and it's a lot of it. And this was overwhelming because people were struggling, and I was starting to kind of be in that struggle as well. And really trying to hold space, and really listen and respond and read all the posts. And what really said, I mean, I think within an hour, there were like 140 posts or responses to this, I think. And it just really showed me that as a community, we seem to really be struggling. And then I recognized the real need to create sort of more space and opportunities for people in our community to connect. Because it was, we are all kind of hurting and struggling and needing to connect and share what we were going through. And I think that it is very cathartic to share kind of what you're going through. The whole idea, if you're going to worry, don't worry alone, is, I think, really, really important here. And just know that, like, and Jessica and I were talking about this, is that, there were a couple days this week where, I think, Jessica, you had asked me, how you doing, Eric? And I was like, I'm not doing great. And so I think it's what I think is important to also know is that it's okay to not be okay.
Yeah. I mean, since you started talking about this, I posted, it's been 60 seconds, I think. I posted it on Twitter. How are you right now? And I've already gotten a bunch of responses, everything from like, tired to the bone, all over the place emotionally, very anxious and bored. There's not enough to do in social isolation, feeling kind of suffocated, but trying to plan a routine. Like, if you're struggling with this, you're not alone. And what I really love about this tribe is we, support each other really well. And B, we're honest. If you ask one of us how we're doing, we'll tell you. And we are really open about our struggles a lot of the time. And I love that, because right now is not the time to pretend to be fine. Right now is the time to reach out.
So I, in our alumni community, which is people who have been through my coaching programs, and we do a weekly session. And it's more of like more of an open format. More people come to it. We probably had more people in one session than we've ever had before. And it was really clear that everyone kind of wanted the agenda scrapped because they just wanted to talk. And when one of our members, towards the end, her name was Emily, really like helped me shift perspective and kind of bring some levity into it. Because she was like, I know this is really, kind of scary stuff, but y'all are being way too serious. And she kind of brought a little bit of humor into it. And I felt this, like, my whole body kind of just relax a little bit. And it made me realize, we need to intentionally bring in levity and humor. Not that we're making light of this situation, but actually using humor as a coping strategy, through all of this. So that inspired my next, very active post in my Facebook community, which was, I asked my Facebook community a very important question. It was, know any good jokes, one-liners, bad dad jokes and puns encouraged? I think we could all use a little comic relief. And so I'd like to share some of the thoughtful responses from the ADHD Rewired community. Here we go. Why was the little strawberry crying?
Why?
Because his mom and dad were in a jam.
That's adorable. Wait, I'm going to trade off. I'm going to do coronavirus jokes in between yours.
Okay.
Somebody posted on Twitter, in an unsettling reversal of my teenage years, I am now yelling at my parents for going out.
Allison from our community said, my 6-year-old's favorite. Why did the toilet paper roll down the hill?
Why?
It wanted to get to the bottom.
This one says, this is on Board Panda. Has anybody let the Amish know what's going on yet? Because they don't have internet.
I forgot where I saw this one, but it wasn't in here. It was, how do you know the sign of a pun that's really going to sort of stand its test of time?
How?
Because it will always be groaning. Or I'm pretty sure
that's pretty bad.
I'm pretty sure I actually delivered that incorrectly. But we're just going to let that one go. What did...
wait.
Go ahead.
Wait, you said one. It's my turn.
Yep.
This one's a picture, but I think everybody can picture it. So this one is a military joke. This is what happens when the Navy works from home. And it's a picture of Battleship. The game.
What did the fish say when he crashed into a wall?
What?
Damn. Get it? Like D-A-M?
Yes, D-A-M. Somebody tweets, "Oh, now everyone wants to know what introverts do for fun."
What's brown and sticky?
What?
A stick.
Oh my gosh. Where are you getting these?
My brilliant community. I asked them to post jokes, puns,
dad jokes?
Yes.
I love it.
I have a special fondness for dad jokes.
Oh, there was another one. This is a tip that we hear a lot, from experts saying we should try and keep our routines the same. So there's a picture of a guy standing with his headphones on in his bathroom holding the shower rod like he was commuting to work on the subway. I just love that. He was just like standing there holding the shower rod, listening to whatever he would normally listen to on his commute.
Why can't you hear a pterodactyl in the bathroom?
Why?
Because it has a silent P. They're so bad and I love them. And like I've already read them and they still make me laugh.
This is I'm still on board, Panda. This is great. Day 1 of quarantine. I'm going to take this as an opportunity to improve my health. Day 2 of quarantine. Due to personal reasons, I am eating a lasagna in my shower. Someone posted, now this is a video, but I'm going to turn just the audio up. So you know how sometimes in public meetings that you have like a lapel microphone, so it's connected to like the speaker system in a public meeting. Mm-hmm. So this was, I don't know where this exactly was, but this was some government meeting, and somebody in the meeting forgot to take their microphone off while going to the bathroom. Oh no.
I won't belabor all the details. I'm sure most of you remember Mr. Guest's presentation from last time, and I imagine he's going to hit some of the highlights here in a minute. But the thing is that these deadly infections, there's something we can do about it. And what we can do is call on governmental representatives.
Oh no.
That are higher up the chain of
Oh gosh, I feel embarrassed and I'm laughing at this, but honestly, anything we can laugh at right now, I think it's probably a good idea.
I think it's explain the whole thing.
At the federal level, I am
why didn't the sound guy shut it off?
Concerns that he raised last time, and there would be instances where I actually agree that we should take action locally first, but there are not any KFO.
She's trying so hard to keep it together.
So for us to just say it within the city limits.
Oh my gosh. Well, this next one is a Star Trek joke. Let's go from some lowbrow humor to some highbrow humor here.
But then he comes back in, and the guy next to him like leans over to tell him, "Oh my god, it's okay. I need to catch my breath." You're
gonna have to link to that.
Okay, I will. It's oh yeah, I'll try to remember to link it. So my son and I we've watched it 3 times, and each time we are like crying from laughter.
Or like text it to me.
Okay. So good.
The next one is a Star Wars joke, or Star Trek. And I actually just started watching Star Trek. Right now, I think is a really good idea or a really good time to get into fandoms that you're like, I didn't have time for this before. Now I do. And Star Trek is one of them. Every episode I've seen, I've really loved, but I just never watched them. And so now I'm taking the time to watch them. So I don't know who these people are yet. Oh, no, that's Wesley. Okay, that's Wesley. And then Captain. So, yeah, Wesley says, why aren't there handles on doors anymore? Captain's like, Wesley, it's time I tell you about the year 2020.
Yeah. Oh, that's actually like...
Isn't that good?
So you don't have to touch the door?
Yeah, you walk up to the door and it opens automatically.
It helps prevent the spread of coronavirus.
Yeah, like we knew that futuristic things were coming, but we didn't know why, right? I feel like technological advances like are a response to a problem. Well, this is coronavirus. This is the issue. Nobody's going to want to touch door handles now.
There were two like story jokes in here. I want to read one of them here.
Okay.
A teenage boy is getting ready to take his girlfriend to the prom. He goes to rent a tux, but there's a long line at the shop and it takes forever. Next, he has to get some flowers, so he heads over to the florist. And there's a huge floral line there. He waits forever, but eventually gets the flowers. Then he heads out to rent a limo. Unfortunately, there's a large limo line at the rental office, but he's patient and gets the job done. Finally, the day of the prom comes. The two are dancing happily, and his girlfriend is having a great time. When the song is over, she asks him to get her some punch. So he heads over to the punch table and gets some punch.
Was that the end of the story? I'm not going to lie. That was really long and my dog barked and I was looking for more funny things. So I have no idea what you just said. I will listen to the podcast and hear the story.
People might need to pause it to like get it because it actually took me a minute. There was a couple jokes in here. Like I read them at night and I'm like, I don't get it. And then like I read it the next morning. I'm like, I don't know why I didn't get it because like I read it the next morning and it was like really funny.
Yeah, well, I've noticed that my brain capacity isn't what it normally is right now. Like my working memory is already usually bad, but it feels like a couple of slots are taken up with coronavirus anxiety. And so like I had a really hard time shooting yesterday. I was shooting an episode on how to transition to working from home, which was great for me because I'm like, I've learned so many things in having to work from home and done so much research on it, but I didn't have anybody to share it with because most people didn't work from home. Well,
wait, Jessica, do you want to hear a joke about a ghost?
The most ADHD moment ever, Eric. I don't even remember what I was going to say as the second half of my sentence, but I was in the middle of it. Yes.
That's a spirit.
That's actually my favorite joke that you just told. I really like that. I'm also feeling very vindicated because Forbes agrees and Forbes feels like a very serious site. And they published an article yesterday called Laughing During a Crisis, the Best Coronavirus Memes. So if they're sharing this stuff, I feel like it's okay that we are.
Your turn.
Oh, no. Oh, this is good. Due to the quarantine, I'll only be telling inside jokes.
I saw that one today. That was good.
I like it.
Okay, I was in a group text of my pickleball friends, and there was a really funny one. It was okay, where is it? Picklers. Oh, it says there's a sign that says first time in history. We could save the human race by laying in front of the TV and doing nothing. Let's not screw this up.
I saw a video. There were a couple of violinists standing in the row of toilet paper playing a violin, and they were wearing life vests, like they were going down with the ship. They just stood in the toilet paper roll. Wait, toilet paper aisle. Oh my gosh. Oh, that's what I was saying. I was saying how even simple things are taking a lot right now because everything's changed. And I think so much of my day-to-day functionality is based on things being the same and routines. And I don't have to really think about what to do next because I know I wake up, I go eat something tiny. I put my workout clothes on. I go to the gym. Like it's a routine. And so without that routine, I'm finding myself sitting on the floor going, I don't remember what I was doing or what I was supposed to be doing. And I'm having to break things down step by step that feel like they should be obvious. But because I'm doing them in a different order than usual, they're not. And it reminds me of a time like when I was waiting tables, I got really good at it. It was hard for me at first, but eventually I was like, wait, a job where I don't have to sit still, everything's urgent, and I'm supposed to write things down so I remember them. Like, this is great. And I got so good at it that I ended up being their go-to closer. I got the big sections and I got to be, I got to have meetings where they were like, and this is your progress report. And I'm like, oh God, you're going to fire me. And they're like, you're great. We want more of you. And I'm like, this is amazing. But then one day they changed up all the buttons in the computer. So things were in different folders, things that were in the same folder were rearranged, and suddenly I was useless. Like, it was so frustrating because everything was in a different place. So I didn't have my automatic, I can move so quickly when I know where things are. But I get so stuck if I can't find the thing. And sometimes I feel like a Sims character. Like, do you know the Sims where you had to have like everything lined up? Like, I'm going to do this, and then I'm going to do this, and then I'm going to do this. And as long as you had everything lined up, like, you were good. But if you didn't have anything lined up, then they just sat on the couch and like started smelling and missed work and watched TV for hours, right? They were useless. And same thing happens with me. And same things happens if I have those things queued up, but the first one I can't do for whatever reason. I get so stuck. Like, I just keep walking in circles or running into walls and not being able to function until I go, oh, I'm stuck because I can't do this next thing on my mental list. Yeah. I need to put that aside and be like, okay, it's okay for me to do my makeup before putting my script on my board because the printer is being difficult right now. I can come back to that when I'm less frustrated. I can go do these other things first. But I just wanted to put it out there that I'm really struggling with this. And I've been researching ADHD for 4 years and have a lot of coping strategies. If you are new to ADHD, or if you don't have a lot of strategies yet, which I doubt because you're watching or you're listening to Eric's channel and he's amazing. But if you are, kind of new to this game and you're having mental issues right now with working memory or being productive, just know that is completely
to the club.
Yeah. Even when you have all the strategies in the world, even when you are able to get your medication, because I know some people on my feed right now are having trouble with that.
Ooh, I'm glad you brought that up. I wanted to tell people that, so whenever you have to go and get your medication, give yourself some extra days, plan on something going wrong and needing extra days to actually take care of the medication. I decided to do that this time. And, so in Illinois, they can do it where the doctor can electronically call in up to 3 months. But you only pick up 1 month at a time, but you only have you can't pick it up. It was a 5-day window basically. So you can't get it before that. And so I called and I've had this issue before where they're like, well, we don't see that you have another prescription on file. I'm like, what do you mean I have another prescription on file? I just saw my psychiatrist. And so I called the psychiatrist, that they got it taken care of, but it was I'm so glad that I called and didn't wait till the last minute. And that was yesterday. And then today I realized, I didn't just see my psychiatrist because I have an appointment in 2 weeks. So that actually, and then I just remembered that, we actually discussed that this appointment would require me to call him before my next appointment. So this is my, the apology that will never be heard to the pharmacist that I was feeling frustrated with. And now I feel really bad because now I realize I totally was frustrated with this person. And I forgive myself. I'm forgiving myself.
Good. But I'm glad you brought that up because that's something I think we all need to be aware of right now. We're all going to be a little bit, all our ADHD symptoms might be a little bit worse right now. So emotional dysregulation being part of that. We're going to be quicker to frustration right now. And that's something to watch. If you do have a meditation practice, now's a really good time to be keeping that up. If not, because you're terrified of meditation, because as soon as you sit down and try and make the thoughts go quiet, they storm your brain because you haven't given yourself a chance to process. Know that it gets better. Try Headspace to have a voice walking you through it or do something. But I beg you, please, for the love of all that is brainy, try some sort of meditation practice, even if it's knitting, even if it's a walking meditation, just something right now.
I mean, you can literally take a piece of food and be super mindful of it. So let's say you're just eating whatever you're eating. Hold your fork. Notice the weight of your fork in your hand. Slowly stab at the food that you're eating. Notice how it feels as the fork sort of penetrates the food. Feel the weight of it coming on the fork before you even put it in your mouth. Let it touch your lips. What does that feel like? Slowly put it in your mouth. Notice where the sort of the I want to say salivation glands. That's not the right word. What's the word? Salvation? No, that's
salvation. That can't be right.
No, that's not the right word. The
salivary gland? I don't know.
The Salisbury steak glands?
No, definitely not. No, but yeah, you're talking about mindfulness. So mindfulness and meditation. So meditation is a deliberate practice, like going to the gym. Whereas mindfulness is like taking the stairs. Like you get some exercise. It's not the same, but it's still helpful. And especially if you're dealing with a lot of anxiety. Although I will put out the disclaimer, like I'm like begging people to do it. Meditation is not for everybody. For some people, it doesn't work. For some people, it's not something that you want to try when things are really bad, because for whatever reason it's contraindicated sometimes. So do what's right for you. But if it has worked for you, I'm just reminding you, like, really I'm talking to myself at this point. Like, Jessica, you're listening to this episode, go meditate.
Put the podcast down and friggin' take a breath.
Walk away from the podcast. Speaking of mindfulness, what time is it? How long are we going to be talking?
I don't know. So I did want to, I found the joke that I completely botched, and it's way better than how I delivered it. What happens to a bad pun when it gets old?
What?
It becomes full grown.
It's so bad.
Oh, man.
So I'm curious, like, what are your go-to, like, you have to have these things if you're going to make it through for the next 2 weeks? Like, say you're inside for the next 2 weeks. What do you need to have on hand? For me, I realize it's animal crackers. Animal crackers are like a stress eating thing for me. And right now, I'm going to let myself do it. So,
Jessica, when I was, I think it was either kindergarten or first grade, I had a solo in the school play. And I forgot what play, like what musical is from, but all I remember is the line, "Animal crackers in my soup, lions and tigers, loop-de-loop, something, 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 something." And that's all I remember. But that was my musical debut, and clearly it ended when it should have.
That's adorable.
Can you just picture like 6-year-old me?
It's really cute.
What was your question?
I don't remember.
Can I tell you, the last time I did an episode that I was unmedicated, I got a number of emails telling me how much people enjoyed the comic, like just the funniness of it when I was not even trying to be funny. Strategy, the things I must have. So I have to get a sweat up. I have to sweat. And so I actually, I was thinking before I figured that I can, play pickleball against myself in my office space. And I'm also going to be doing it in my dining room. I just have to remember to put away fragiles.
Wait, are you serious? In your dining room?
Oh, I'm totally going to be doing it in my dining room. Yeah. I'll still hit against the wall a couple times, make sure it's not leaving a mark. That could just be motivation to have to paint, and that would be fine. I was also, I wrote down, I haven't done it yet too, cause those like little things you like think about for years, but you never actually do. One of mine was to get like, layered technical clothing so I can actually bike ride when it's like cold as shit out.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Cause I'm like, if I can't like pick up, I need something that's like adrenaline, like rush, like that's exciting. And like, there is something that's kind of exciting about being outside when it's cold out and you're not cold. You kind of feel like you're like, haha, I'm one up against the elements. But like, I hate being cold, and like, I think I need to get those like USB chargeable gloves that like stay warm for like 8 hours.
Oh, right. You live in a cold place.
I live in a cold place. Yes. So it's like, it's been in like the 30s, get up to 40, but even like if you're like biking, 40's cold.
So are you kind of used to having to stay inside for months on end?
No, I get depressed as hell. I hate it. No, like once my son is like college age and goes to college, I'm moving somewhere warm. Like I struggle with the seasonal affective disorder, and to make like to compound everything, this is like the time of year where seasonal affective disorder for me, like at first it's been kicking my ass for the last 2 months, and then I turn around and kicks me in the nuts. Like it's bad, like it gets really bad. And it's very predictable. And typically this is the time of year where I ramp up any exercise I'm already doing. And so it's like, I haven't really been able to do that, which is why I've been so like, kind of crying on a dime. And I'm like, I've been looking for this dime for so long. I missed you.
Yeah, no, I'm hearing that a lot from my community. Like, we finally build up these strategies to keep us okay, and then they just get knocked out from under us. So what do you think? Like, you're the expert. Like, you have degrees and stuff. I'm a community college dropout. I just read about it online.
Community college dropout.
But seriously, like, what are the most important things that you think that we should be doing right now? Like, what are the actual risks to our mental health from dealing with this? Is it something I've just never faced before?
Reach out to people. Reach out to those people who you're like, oh man, I feel really bad. I should have talked to that person a month ago, 3 months ago, a year
this
ago.
Is a good time to catch up on those text messages we haven't responded to.
You know, and I have been doing a lot of that, and people have been. I've had some really just wonderful conversations with people that I've just, you know, ADHD 1, and I fell out of contact, and I'm like, you know what? I'm back. And it's been really nice. I've been needing those conversations and that connection.
I've been getting that a lot. I've been getting phone calls from people that wouldn't normally call me. And it's been nice because, as much as we're calling it social distancing, like, I actually feel socially closer to a lot of people because we're all we're kind of boiling life down to the essentials right now. Like, I haven't, like, you know, in my next video, like, my roots are showing and I haven't done my eyebrows. Like, suddenly the things that we do to, you know, I don't know, all the little extra things just don't feel that important right now. And so we're kind of getting back to what is important, which is social connection and shelter and food. It feels very, ancient in a way. Like, we're stripping back a lot of the modern luxuries and going, what's actually important though? And in a way, as hard as this has been, in a way, it's just, that part of it is nice. That part of it feels good. You
know, in some ways, I think this is giving a lot of perspective, you know, from all the things that we've taken for granted, like what?
Or thought was important, or like, so, you know, we can't live without.
Well, even like I can't get, you know, paper towels delivered to my doorstep in under 24 hours. Like, they don't even know when they're going to be back in. Like, it's weird. Like,
I know we took so much for granted because we're like, well, it's just automatic. It just happens that way.
And I think that I think if we allow it to, we can really develop a lot. This is actually a good opportunity to develop a really good gratitude practice. You know, gratitude as a mechanism for improving sort of wellness. Happy people aren't happy because they're grateful. Happy, great.
I think we should just end this here and talk about.
Oh my God! Wait. Now it's like,
let's be grateful when Eric finishes this sentence.
Grateful people aren't happy. Oh God! Someone rescue me.
Well, you know, okay. I will step in and say gratitude works for some people, but it's such a vague, generic term. I will say this. Feeling the pressure to be grateful when you're not feeling grateful, I think, is counterproductive. I think there's research that supports that. You know, because then you feel worse because you're saying that you're grateful for things that you're not grateful for, but you should be grateful for them. And so why aren't you grateful, especially if you're dealing with depression on top of it and these things actually aren't bringing you joy right now? And then you feel bad because they should be bringing you joy and all that. It can get into this kind of vicious loop there. But I think mindfulness is a really good way. So, you know, as much as what's going on in the world, if you're listening to this podcast and you are okay right now, appreciate the fact that you're okay. You know, appreciate the things that you actually genuinely do appreciate, I think, is a better way to do it rather than trying to basically, rather than trying to start with gratitude, like I'm grateful for, and then list things, you know, that you're supposed to be grateful for. I think it's more helpful to just notice what's happening that you do appreciate in this moment. You know, I'm petting my dog and she feels very soft and warm and loving, and she's safe and I'm safe and I have enough food for her. And in that moment, like, she's okay and I'm glad she's okay, as opposed to, you know, let me write a list of all the things I'm supposed to be grateful for. I don't know. I don't know if I'm tearing apart your gratitude thing, but I've just done gratitude practices in the past that felt so forced that they made me feel worse.
You know, and I guess I hear what you're saying.
Fight me, Eric. Fight me.
Yeah, I'm about to. So I find that actually it's when we are the most down and just feeling discouraged that really finding the smallest of things to be like, you know what, this is okay right now. You know, I always tell people, if you can't find something to be grateful for, just take a moment and look for your breath. Because if you can't find it, you have much bigger problems. Right. And so really just like, yeah, it doesn't mean that you're going to be like, oh, I'm suddenly so happy because I can breathe. Right. However, we probably have all had that experience of like that moment after like a really bad cold where you like realize you're like, I no longer have a cold. Like I love that moment. And I'm like, it's actually a moment like the ability to just breathe freely is something, it's also as someone who is asthmatic, is something that is part of my sort of reoccurring, gratitudes that when I am having that practice of gratitude. Cause it's a practice and it's
a practice, but I think gratitude, it's a feeling. Like happiness is a feeling. Like you can't chase happiness because a lot of things that we do to chase happiness actually make us unhappy. Happiness is a byproduct of doing the things that make us happy. I think gratitude is a byproduct. It's not like you can't gratitude your way into happiness. You can't gratitude your way into anything.
I don't know.
I think like there are things that you can do that can create gratitude. Like one of the things that I do, a game I play with myself, is when I notice that I'm kind of taking things for granted, I remember a time when I didn't have these things. And then when I come back to the present and I realize I do have these things, then I am able to feel grateful, but I can't force it. Right. I think forcing our way into feeling gratitude when it's not, I don't know, when it's not organic, it's not helpful. Cause then it turns into shame. Like, oh, I've got all this great stuff going on in my life. I should be grateful. Why am I not grateful? So yeah, I don't know. That's just my personal thought on that, is that gratitude it's a byproduct, and there are ways that we can get to that. But just doing, it's really what I'm railing against is toxic positivity.
Okay. Yeah, we were talking about that before. Like just reach for the stars and everything.
Rainbows and sunshine, and just be grateful that, like when you're actually genuinely worried. Like I haven't heard from my mom in a couple of days and I'm getting really worried about her. Right. But if I'm like, I'm sure everything's fine and sunshine and roses and I'm just grateful that I have a mom, and like all that stuff is not helping anybody. Yeah. Right. And sharing, like, I don't know, just memes. It's like, everything's going to turn out okay. Believe in yourself and everybody around. Like I don't know. I have a problem with it. I think we have to be realistic. I think we have to acknowledge reality. We have to be in touch with our actual human emotions and feelings and what is actually going on in the world. We can't pretend that it doesn't exist, and we can't sugarcoat everything. That said, like finding the positive in things, that's different.
Jessica, I'm grateful for you.
Oh, I'm grateful for you too.
I'm grateful for the community that we have. And I mean, that's being a member and leader in this community is I feel extremely grateful and lucky and fortunate. And, cause we're all supporting each other here, cause it's, shit ain't easy right now.
Yeah.
And, just be grateful that you're not this guy.
That are higher up the chain of
And on that note,
and ask for action at the federal level. I am aware of Mr. Brainerd's concerns that he raised last time, and there would be instances where I actually agree that we should take action locally first, but
Eric, I thought you were being genuine. I thought you were genuinely grateful for me, and now I realized that it was just the punchline you were going for, and I love you for it. Thank you for making me laugh.
You are welcome, and thank you for being there to support me and be a sounding board, and for doing everything you're doing right now to support the community, because this is a time where we all need to come together at a distance to support each other.
Yeah. Speaking of which, I was working on an episode about clutter, and then I was like, that's nobody's biggest problem right now. So I switched to an episode on how to switch to working or learning from home. And I teamed up with Danny Donovan, who does those brilliant ADHD comics, to illustrate. And we animated some of her illustrations. So that should be going up today if you're listening to this on Tuesday, the 24th.
I'm really impressed with how well you just did like the saying today when it's not today. Like that, I've been podcasting for 6 years and that still hurts my brain. So, Jessica, what are you doing this weekend for self-care?
Oh, gosh, right. That's a thing. I don't know. And I don't think I'm alone in not knowing what's happening this week or tomorrow or, in the next 2 hours. Everything just feels so up in the air. And I just dealt with all this change moving across country. And I'm still trying to establish my routine here as routines are just kind of falling apart around everybody. I don't know. Do you have an idea? Do you have a suggestion?
I think at a time like this, it's important to really look at planning as a practice of self-care.
Yeah. I'm going to do the Sims thing. I'm going to line up my day. I'm going to be like, yeah.
Right. And be flexible. And the other thing for listeners, that this might be helpful is like maybe try to imagine, it's hard to imagine the future sometimes, but try to imagine, after we're like, we all get the all clear and we can all kind of go about our lives again, 3-4 weeks, whatever it is from now. Imagine the night before, like we get the all clear and we're able to go out and do our things. What do you think you're going to be like, oh man, I had all this time to work on this project and I kind of blew the time. Try to really think like what's one thing that you might regret when it comes to the day where we're going back to life as usual. And maybe start with that project.
I'm going to watch Star Trek.
And
actually, thank you. I just want to thank you for pointing out that planning is a form of self-care because I'd never thought about that before. But it's true that I'm not going to do the self-care things of making sure that I shower and take time to read and snuggle with my dog if I don't plan it. So, yeah, thank you for that.
And I think that, I think showering, getting dressed, like those things are important. And like those are things that are really easy to skip when you like don't have to leave your home. It's
me.
Maybe put on a cape in addition to your clothes because it takes kind of some superhero power to get through this boredom. Because, it's like that is, I've seen a lot of people post about like the challenge with boredom and like we get bored on like when, like on a normal day. Like this
and now we get bored and we are gonna, because we're cooped inside and because of all of this going on, we're gonna either fight with somebody we care about, get frustrated with, people who are doing heroic things, right now, going out to work amid all this panic at the hospitals or at the pharmacy or at the grocery store. We're going to take our frustration of boredom out on them. And let's try not to do that. I'm not going to say we're going to be perfect, but let's try not to do that. And let's try not to, respond to our boredom by obsessively checking social media for updates about what's going on, because we need to give our bodies a chance to relax. We need to give ourselves a chance to kind of come down, because otherwise, we have a spike of anxiety. We come down a little bit. The next spike of anxiety pushes us higher. We come down a little bit. Next spike of anxiety pushes us higher until we are in that range where we're going to have a panic attack. If you do have a panic attack, I've had one. It was a terrifying experience. You're not going to die. It's going to be over in 20, 30 minutes. And, try and find a way to ground yourself.
Drink water.
Yeah. During a panic attack?
Yes.
Really? Okay. Oh, somebody said too, like stick your face in like ice cold water because.
Or you can hold on to an ice cube.
Okay, cool. So like something to jar your system.
Also, one of our alumni who's a certified yoga teacher, he's teaching some meditation stuff to our groups. He said to take your hands and put like each hand under your armpit, basically, and kind of tuck it in, and then kind of tighten your, like almost like you're giving yourself a hug, but putting your like hands. He gave a really good explanation, which I'm not going to be able to do as to why this actually can calm your like central nervous system. But there are things that can really kind of tighten, really like
compression. Yeah. Weighted blankets too.
I think he actually mentioned weighted blankets when he was talking about that works.
That's a common thing. A lot of people with autism and even ADHD benefit from weighted blankets. That's a good strategy right now too. But I know I said a lot of things because I really care about this community and I really want you guys to be okay. Full disclaimer, not a doctor, right? A lot of the things I'm saying are from personal experience, from hearing from my community, from seeing the research. But obviously, even if the research is like, this is an incredibly effective thing to do, like for 5%, 10% of people, it's not going to be the thing to do. So take all of that with a grain of salt and do what's right for you.
I had another thought. And then I just looked at the clock.
I could watch Eric trying to wait for me to finish my sentence before saying what he had to say. And I watched the moment at which he lost what he had to say. And it was hilarious. You guys should have seen us typing in the Google Doc. We were like, last minute thing, let's do an episode about this because it seems like weird to have a normal episode right now. And I was like, I'll help you out. And so we're typing in this Google Doc at the same time, having a conversation. And so I would be writing my sentence and he would be writing his at the same time. And then we would just switch. And it was actually really great because everybody could write what they wanted to say and nobody forgot anything. And it was just so organic and natural that we were able to understand what was happening. And I was just like, yeah, this is great.
I remembered family planning.
Oh, yeah. There's
a good chance that a lot of you are going to be having a lot more sex over the next, month or so if you have a partner. If your plan is to build a family, mazel tov to you. If your plan is to not build a family or to grow your family, make appropriate plans.
Yeah, good point. There's the Planned Parenthood app has something where you can get birth control delivered.
That's cool. Yeah. That's nice. I've always needed that.
Sorry. Well, now you can share it with other people.
I'm trying to think.
You don't want to end on that, do you? Wait, let me find another joke. Hang on. I got another joke.
Let's do that.
All right, let's see. So, hey, remember in 2019 when we were all like, 2020 is going to be such a better year?
That's like a bigger version of you wake up and you're really motivated. You put 20 things on your to-do list and you're like, I'm going to get them all done. And then the end of the day comes and it's like, where did this to-do list go?
Yeah. And finally, there's a meme. For those of us who are lucky enough to work from home, it's a guy sitting at his desk in his pajamas with his laptop open. My God, those meetings really could have all been emails.
I hope that everyone is taking some sort of solace and enjoyed the humor of this conversation. I think it comes down to this idea that I've always liked. It's that, while we may be dealing with some really serious shit, let's just try not to take everything so seriously. It's like we have to laugh at ourselves, laugh at sometimes we have to laugh at the awfulness of sometimes it's so awful that you almost have to laugh at it. And, it's everyone copes differently. The one thing that I really want to encourage people, if you are bunkered down with families or with other people, everyone's, stress is going to be a little bit amped up. If you are getting angry, walk away until you are calmed down. Especially when you have ADHD and you can get into that like anger mode, it can feel like a drug. I'm speaking from experience. And so I have learned when I get like really pissed about something, like I'm not safe for human consumption.
Mm-hmm. So if you're bored, distract yourself with humor, watch Netflix, pick up a fandom you haven't touched in a while or one you're interested in, and really see what you can do to help somebody else. There were some really cool stories out there right now. On Nextdoor, the app, somebody was like, hey, I'm making a Costco run. Is there anybody around here who can't leave their house right now who I can pick things up for, right? That's one thing we can do with our creative imaginations besides spinning that creativity into anxiety is how can we help right now? Eric's doing what he can, by switching to this episode, even though it was not unplanned at all, or even though it was not planned at all. I switched to an episode on, how to work or learn from home. We're contributing in the ways that we know how to contribute, and it might not feel like enough, but it's something.
Stay connected with the community. Whether you're part of Jessica's community or my community or both, like reach out. We're here, right? People want to talk, like hop on a Zoom room with people. I wish I had stock on Zoom because, it's, when we record our sessions for our coaching groups, we usually post them in like a couple hours. It's taking days to get our videos processed through Zoom. But yeah, it's like reach out. But it doesn't matter if you know the person. If you have a Zoom account and say, hey, I just want to talk to somebody. I need to see another face who's going as like insane as I am. People are going to hop on a call with you on Zoom and connect. This is a really, really great time to build community because people want community and connection.
And when in doubt, share a meme. There's one more hashtag Throwback Thursday, and it's a fully stocked toilet paper aisle. I'm going to leave you guys with that. I can't top that.
We will leave it there. I want to ask everyone, if you can, I know that people's finances right now are probably going to be tight. If you are in the fortunate group of people who like this isn't affecting you financially and you're in a good space, support Jessica on Patreon. Do it before you support me. Patreon I'm very grateful for it, but it's a small percentage of what I make in a year. It's what Jessica makes in a year. So
I rely on it. Like, I will not be able to pay my rent if people can't support on Patreon. So that would be greatly appreciated. And if you do, we have a wonderful Discord community 24/7. You can jump in and talk to people who get it.
Yeah, it's very active. And are you still posting like video, like your vlog stuff on Patreon?
I will be now that I have time again. I wasn't so much while I was in the middle of moves and stuff, but yeah, I'm going to be starting that again. So yeah, you guys can come see the vlogs, hang out with people. You can get into the main chat for like $1 a month if you can support even at that level. And you just need a community of people who get it. You're absolutely welcome to join us.
Jessica, how can people find your Patreon page?
Oh, right. That's the thing. I'm so bad at advertising. I'm just like, I honestly tried to help this community for free for like 9 months until my brain went on strike and was like, we can't keep doing this unless somebody gives us $1 because this is killing us. And it probably was. I could not have sustained that. I was waiting tables full time and trying to do the channel full time and research all this stuff when I had no background in this at all. And I was so determined not to spread misinformation. I was pulling like 40-hour weeks on top of waiting tables. So Patreon has been such a godsend. What was the question? All right. The site. Oh my God. We need sleep or meds or coffee. It's patreon.com/howtoadhd. And if you sign up, you should get an email telling you how to join the Discord. If not, let us know. We have a lot of awesome mods that can help you. But yeah, Patreon, patreon.com/howtoadhd. If you can spare the money. If you can't, please don't put yourself out.
Yeah. And if you've been like every week, I've been meaning to support ADHD Rewired on Patreon. I just keep forgetting. And you're like, man, I can feed 2 birds with 1 scone. Man, I messed that one up. 1 scone? Yeah, 2 birds with 1 scone.
Now I want scones.
Yes.
Eric, I want scones and I can't go get them. There's no more brunch.
My biggest fear has now come true. Because breakfast is the best meal of the day, any time of day. Yeah, that was something I learned from Will Curb, who he said he wasn't his original thing, but I'm still crediting it to him. The killing 2 feeding. I can't even like do analogies right now. Like ones that feeding 2 birds with 1 stone will make a happy gratitude practice come to life with a punny groan. And I was trying to think of all like the things I messed up in the episode. I'm like challenging my working memory. So you could support us on our Patreon pages. Please support Jessica first, and only if you can't do both. Cause I want to help my friend out here.
Thank you. I really appreciate it. Financial security right now would be greatly appreciated. I want to be able to keep paying my editors and put content out and pay my rent in Seattle, which again is very expensive. I just committed to an apartment where it's just like, it'll be okay though, right? Like, I'll do some talks. It'll be fine.
Yeah, which is no longer an option.
No.
So you can contribute to our Patreon page. Is there an address that anyone can send toilet paper to?
I'm actually okay on toilet paper. Like I didn't hoard toilet paper, but like I have enough for the next couple weeks. And after that, I think we'll all be adjusted to the whole shower situation.
Yeah, we'll be showering more frequently. Oh man, it's a shitty situation. All right. Starting is the hardest part until you start. And then when you haven't taken your meds and it's 9:45, ending is the hardest part.
This is like a 2-hour podcast.
We're at an hour 25.
Oh my gosh.
And so for those of you who I know have just been bored out of your mind and you listened all the way through, thank you. And I hope this, I hope this gave some perspective and you enjoyed what you heard. And I have nothing more to say. Otherwise, I'll start telling more fart jokes.
Thanks for listening, guys.
Thanks. And thanks, Jessica.
Be safe.
This is Eric Tivers. Thank you for listening, and congratulations for making it to the end. ADHD Rewired is more than just a podcast. We are a community focused on learning, growing, and connection. The website is ADHDrewired.com. You can find summaries and additional resources for each episode. You can apply to our free and secret Facebook community. You can learn more about ADHD Rewired's intensive online video-based coaching and accountability groups, and sign up for my email newsletter to get exclusive content you won't get anywhere else. It's all at ADHDrewired.com. While you're there, click the Patreon button. If you're a regular listener and you're still listening to my voice, consider making a monthly contribution by becoming a patron through our Patreon page. If you are able to financially support my work, it would mean a lot. This show is free to listeners, but it is not free to produce. And patrons get really cool perks. You can follow me on Twitter at Eric Tivers. You can like our Facebook page at facebook.com/ADHDrewired. If you're a coach, therapist, or related professional, connect with me on LinkedIn at linkedin.com/Eric Tivers. You can also subscribe to ADHD Rewired on YouTube. And you can subscribe to ADHD Rewired on YouTube and see select interviews and some other videos I've posted. Podcasts change lives. You can make a difference in someone's life by spreading the word about this podcast. Mention it in your online communities on Facebook, Twitter, Reddit, or wherever you hang out online. And be sure to share it with your friends and your family and your clients, as well as your coaches, therapists, and doctors. And if you're a coach, therapist, doctor, or ADHD support group leader, and you would like a pack of podcast postcards to hand out, you can request those at my website, ADHDrewired.com. And if you're a member of CHAD or any other ADHD support group, please be sure to tell them about this podcast. You can even show them how to download it on their phone. You might be the person that turns somebody on to a podcast for the very first time. And if you really love this episode, please consider hitting share on your podcast player. I'm only one person, and I count on you to help me spread the message. One of the biggest things that you can do to support this podcast and to help other people discover it is to leave an honest rating and review on Apple Podcasts, on Stitcher, or any other podcast app that accepts ratings and reviews. And don't forget to hit subscribe on this podcast on your podcast app so new episodes are automatically pushed to your favorite podcast app. Looking for more ways to listen and learn? Get a free audiobook and a 30-day free trial at audibletrial.com/ADHD Rewired. Not sure where to start? In no particular order. Check out Atomic Habits by James Clear, The Body Keeps Score by Bessel van der Kolk, 10% Happier, and Meditation for Fidgety Skeptics. These are both by Dan Harris. Change Your Questions and Change Your Life by Marilee G. Adams. The One Thing by Gary Keller and Jay Papasan. Procrastinate on Purpose by Rory Vaden. The Four Tendencies by Gretchen Rubin. Do you have trouble asking for help? Listen to The Art of Asking by Amanda Palmer. It's one of the best produced audiobooks I've ever heard. If you're looking for something a little bit more, say, magical, I unexpectedly fell in love with the Harry Potter series. And I don't usually listen to those kinds of books, and I loved it. And of course, if you haven't yet boarded the Brene Brown bus yet, check out Brene Brown's books, starting with The Gifts of Imperfection, Daring Greatly, Rising Strong, The Power of Vulnerability. And if you're an entrepreneur or leader in any capacity, check out her 2018 book, dare to lead. And Brene still is my most wanted guest, so if you know Brene, and you would be so kind to make that connection for me, I would be really, really grateful. You know who else I would like to have on the show? You. Click the podcast tab at ADHDrewired.com and then click the Be a Guest button at the top of that page and schedule a 15-minute pre-interview. This is Eric Tivers, reminding you to keep learning, keep growing, and keep connecting. Self-care is not selfish, and no matter what gets done or doesn't get done, at the end of the day, you are still enough. And no matter how hard it feels, we can do hard things. Thanks for listening. I'll catch you next week.